The morning sun cast long shadows across the military base as Private Elena Martinez adjusted her uniform for what felt like the 100th time. Her hands trembled slightly as she walked toward the weapons facility, knowing that today would either make or break her military career. The other soldiers watched her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism as she passed by the barracks. Women in combat roles were still relatively new in their unit, and Elena had already faced more challenges in her first 6 months than most male recruits faced in their entire first year. General Harrison stood near the entrance of the weapons depot, his weathered face showing years of military service and countless battlefield experiences. His reputation preceded him everywhere he went. Known for his strict discipline and unwavering standards, he had never shown favoritism to anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. The soldiers under his command respected him deeply, but they also feared disappointing him. His sharp eyes missed nothing, and his judgment was swift and final. Elena had been assigned to the base 3 weeks ago after completing her basic training with exceptional marks. Her shooting scores were among the highest in her class, and her instructors had recommended her for advanced weapons training. However, she had not yet proven herself in real combat situations, and many questioned whether her classroom performance would translate to actual field conditions. The doubts weighed heavily on her mind as she approached the weapons facility. The M40 sniper rifle sat on the table like a sleeping predator, its sleek black surface reflecting the fluorescent lights overhead. Elena had studied every detail of this weapon during her training, memorizing its specifications, maintenance procedures, and operational capabilities. The rifle was known for its precision and reliability, capable of accurate shots at distances exceeding 800 meters. For many snipers, the M40 was not just a weapon, but an extension of themselves, requiring years of practice to master completely. Sergeant Williams, the weapons instructor, greeted Elena with a professional nod as she entered the facility. He had been working with military firearms for over 15 years and had trained hundreds of soldiers in proper weapon handling. His experience showed in the confident way he handled each weapon, treating them with the respect they deserved while maintaining the casual familiarity that came with years of practice. He understood the responsibility that came with training soldiers to use lethal force effectively. The weapons facility buzzed with activity as other soldiers went through their daily training routines. Some practiced with pistols at the indoor range, while others cleaned and maintained various rifles and machine guns. The smell of gun oil and cleaning solvents filled the air, creating an atmosphere that was both technical and somehow comforting to those who worked there regularly. Elena took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves as she prepared for what would be the most important test of her military career so far. General Harrison had specifically requested to observe Elena's weapons handling assessment, which added an extra layer of pressure to an already stressful situation. Word had spread quickly through the base that the general was taking a personal interest in the new female recruit, though his motivations remained unclear to most. Some speculated that he was simply ensuring that standards were maintained regardless of gender, while others wondered if there were political pressures from higher command to integrate women more fully into combat roles. Elena approached the weapons table where Sergeant Williams had laid out several different rifles for the morning's training session. Besides the M40, there were also M16 assault rifles, M249 light machine guns, and various pistols. Each weapon required different handling techniques and safety procedures, and soldiers were expected to demonstrate competency with all of them before being certified for combat duty. The comprehensive nature of the testing made it particularly challenging for new recruits. As she reached for the M40, Elena noticed General Harrison's eyes following her every movement. His expression remained neutral, but she could sense the intensity of his observation. The general had seen countless soldiers handle weapons throughout his career, and he could quickly identify those who had natural ability versus those who were simply going through the motions. His presence made Elena acutely aware that this was more than just a routine training exercise. The rifle felt heavier in her hands than she remembered from previous training sessions, though she knew this was likely due to her nervousness rather than any actual change in the weapon's weight. The M40 weighed approximately 14 pounds when fully loaded, and Elena had practiced with it many times during her advanced training courses. However, performing under the general's direct observation felt completely different from practicing in a controlled classroom environment. Sergeant Williams began explaining the day's testing procedures, outlining the various tasks Elena would need to complete to demonstrate her proficiency with the sniper rifle. The assessment would include weapon inspection, proper loading and unloading procedures, safety protocol demonstration, and actual shooting tests at various distances. Each component was designed to evaluate different aspects of her training and readiness for combat situations where precision and reliability could mean the difference between life and death. Other soldiers in the facility had begun to notice the unusual attention being paid to Elena's assessment. Some gathered at a respectful distance to observe, curious about how the female recruit would perform under pressure. The military environment often fostered a sense of camaraderie among soldiers, but it also created competitive dynamics where individual performance was constantly evaluated and compared. Elena could feel the weight of their collective gaze as she prepared to begin her demonstration. General Harrison moved closer to the weapons table, his boots clicking against the concrete floor with each measured step. His presence commanded immediate attention from everyone in the facility, and conversations gradually died down as soldiers focused on the unfolding assessment. The general's reputation for high standards meant that his personal observation of any soldier's performance carried significant implications for their future assignments and career progression. Elena began her weapon inspection with the systematic approach she had learned during training. She carefully examined the rifle's barrel, checking for any obstructions or damage that could affect accuracy or cause dangerous malfunctions. The inspection process was methodical and thorough, covering every component from the stock to the muzzle. Her movements were deliberate and confident, reflecting hours of practice and study that had prepared her for this moment. The bolt-action mechanism operated smoothly as Elena cycled it several times to ensure proper function. The M40's bolt was known for its precision engineering and reliability, but proper inspection required checking for any signs of wear or damage that could compromise performance. She examined the trigger mechanism next, testing its response and ensuring that it met safety standards. Every detail mattered when dealing with precision weapons, and Elena understood that shortcuts or oversights could have serious consequences. As she continued the inspection, Elena became aware of whispered conversations among the observing soldiers. Some questioned whether she had the physical strength necessary for extended sniper operations, while others debated the wisdom of allowing women in combat roles that traditionally had been reserved for men. The comments were not meant to be heard, but the acoustics of the weapons facility carried sound further than the speakers probably intended. General Harrison remained silent throughout the inspection process, his experienced eyes noting every detail of Elena's performance. He had observed thousands of weapon inspections during his career, and he could quickly identify soldiers who truly understood their equipment versus those who were simply following memorized procedures. The difference often became apparent in high-stress combat situations where soldiers needed to adapt quickly to unexpected circumstances. The loading procedure came next, and Elena carefully inserted ammunition into the rifle's magazine. The M40 typically used 7.62mm NATO rounds, known for their accuracy and stopping power at long distances. Each cartridge needed to be seated properly to ensure reliable feeding and accurate shooting. Elena's movements were precise and controlled, reflecting her understanding of the critical importance of proper ammunition handling in sniper operations. Sergeant Williams nodded approvingly as Elena demonstrated the correct safety procedures throughout the loading process. Safety protocols were non-negotiable in military weapons handling, and any deviation from established procedures could result in immediate disqualification from further training. The sergeant had seen too many accidents caused by careless handling to ever take safety lightly, regardless of a soldier's experience level or demonstrated competency. The atmosphere in the weapons facility grew more tense as Elena prepared for the shooting portion of her assessment. This would be the ultimate test of her training and natural ability, where classroom knowledge would need to translate into actual performance under pressure. The shooting test would evaluate her accuracy, consistency, and ability to make quick adjustments based on changing conditions. General Harrison checked his watch and made a note in the small notebook he always carried during inspections. His documentation would become part of Elena's permanent military record, influencing future assignments and advancement opportunities. The general took his responsibility for evaluating soldiers seriously, understanding that his assessments could shape entire careers and potentially affect mission success in combat situations. Elena took a deep breath and prepared to shoulder the rifle for her first shooting test. The weight distribution felt familiar from her training, but she knew that performing accurately while being observed by the general would require her to overcome the additional pressure and maintain focus on the technical aspects of shooting. The next few minutes would determine whether months of preparation had adequately prepared her for this crucial evaluation. The range targets had been positioned at various distances, starting with closer shots to establish baseline accuracy before progressing to longer, more challenging distances. Elena understood that sniper operations often required shots at ranges exceeding 500 meters, where factors like wind speed, humidity, and target movement could significantly affect bullet trajectory. Her training had covered these variables extensively, but practical application remained the ultimate test. As she raised the rifle to her shoulder, Elena felt the familiar comfort of the weapon's stock against her cheek. The scope's crosshairs came into focus as she peered through the eyepiece, and she began the process of aligning her shot with the distant target. Everything she had learned during months of training would need to come together in the next few moments, with General Harrison watching every detail of her performance. The silence in the weapons facility was almost complete now, broken only by the soft sounds of Elena's breathing as she prepared to take her first shot. Even the soldiers who had been conducting their own training exercises had paused to observe the assessment, understanding that they were witnessing something significant. The outcome of this test would not only affect Elena's career, but would also influence future policies regarding women in combat roles. General Harrison positioned himself where he could observe both Elena's shooting technique and the target results. His years of experience had taught him to evaluate shooters based on their form, consistency, and ability to make rapid adjustments between shots. Technical accuracy was important, but combat effectiveness required additional skills that could only be assessed through careful observation of a soldier's overall approach to marksmanship. Elena steadied her breathing and began applying gentle pressure to the trigger, using the smooth, controlled technique she had practiced countless times during training. The moment of truth was approaching, and she knew that her performance over the next several minutes would define how others viewed her capabilities for months or even years to come. The weight of expectation was enormous, but she forced herself to focus on the technical fundamentals that had brought her to this point. The crack of the rifle echoed through the facility as Elena fired her first shot. The sound reverberated off the concrete walls, and for a moment, everyone held their breath waiting to see the result. Through the spotting scope, Sergeant Williams could see that the bullet had struck very close to the center of the target at 200 meters. It was a solid first shot, though not quite perfect. Elena worked the bolt smoothly, ejecting the spent cartridge and chambering a fresh round with practiced efficiency. General Harrison made another note in his book, his expression remaining unreadable. He had seen countless soldiers take their first shots under pressure, and he knew that initial performance often didn't reflect a soldier's true capabilities. Some shooters started strong, but faltered under sustained pressure, while others began nervously, but improved dramatically as they settled into their rhythm. The key was observing patterns and consistency over multiple shots. Elena adjusted her position slightly before taking her second shot. She had learned during training that small modifications to body position could significantly affect accuracy, especially at longer distances. The rifle's bipod provided stable support, but proper body alignment remained crucial for consistent performance. Her breathing became more controlled as she settled into the familiar routine of precision shooting. The second shot struck even closer to the center, and Elena felt a surge of confidence. The hours of practice were paying off, and the rifle felt like a natural extension of her body. She had always possessed good hand-eye coordination, but military training had refined her natural abilities into something much more precise and reliable. The M40 responded exactly as she expected, confirming that her technical knowledge was translating effectively into practical performance. Sergeant Williams called for Elena to move to the 300-meter targets for the next phase of testing. The increased distance would require more precise calculations for bullet drop and wind compensation. Elena had studied ballistics extensively during her training, learning how environmental factors affected bullet trajectory over various distances. Theoretical knowledge was one thing, but applying these calculations under pressure while being observed was entirely different. As Elena prepared for the longer shots, she noticed that more soldiers had gathered to watch her assessment. Word had spread throughout the base that General Harrison was personally observing a female recruit's weapons testing, and curiosity had drawn people from various units. Some watched with genuine interest in seeing how she would perform, while others seemed more skeptical about women's capabilities in combat roles. The wind had picked up slightly since the beginning of the assessment, adding another variable for Elena to consider. She observed the range flags carefully, noting the direction and estimated speed of the wind at different points between her position and the targets. Wind reading was often considered one of the most challenging aspects of long-range shooting, requiring both technical knowledge and intuitive understanding gained through experience. Elena made subtle adjustments to her scope settings to compensate for the increased distance and environmental conditions. The M40 scope was capable of precise adjustments, but using it effectively required understanding how each click of adjustment would affect bullet impact at various ranges. She had memorized the scope's specifications during training, but applying this knowledge in real conditions tested her true understanding of the system. General Harrison moved to a position where he could better observe Elena's shooting technique and target results. His experienced, I noted the deliberate way she made scope adjustments and prepared for each shot. Many inexperienced shooters rushed through their preparations, but Elena demonstrated the patience and methodical approach that characterized effective snipers. Her training appeared to be comprehensive and well internalized. The third shot at 300 meters struck slightly left of center, but still within the acceptable accuracy zone for military standards. Elena quickly analyzed what might have caused the deviation, considering factors like wind drift, scope adjustment errors, or minor flaws in her shooting technique. Self-correction ability was crucial for snipers, who often needed to make rapid adjustments based on changing field conditions. Before taking her fourth shot, Elena spent extra time observing the wind conditions and double-checking her scope settings. The additional preparation time demonstrated good judgment, as rushing shots rarely led to improved accuracy. Professional snipers understood that patience and careful preparation were often more important than rapid firing rates, especially in situations where precision was critical for mission success. The fourth shot struck much closer to the center, confirming that Elena's adjustments had been appropriate. Her ability to analyze and correct her performance between shots impressed both Sergeant Williams and General Harrison, though the general's expression remained neutral. The capacity for self-improvement during live firing was a strong indicator of potential for advanced sniper training and eventual combat effectiveness. Sergeant Williams announced that the next phase would involve shooting at 400 and 500-meter targets, representing the distances where sniper skills became truly critical. At these ranges, even small errors in calculation or technique could result in significant misses. The pressure increased accordingly, as these longer shots would more definitively demonstrate Elena's readiness for advanced training and potential combat assignments. Elena took several minutes to study the distant targets through her scope, noting their exact positions and estimating the environmental factors that would affect her shots. The systematic approach she demonstrated reflected thorough training and natural aptitude for the analytical thinking required in precision shooting. Many soldiers possessed good basic marksmanship skills, but fewer had the mental discipline necessary for consistent long-range accuracy. General Harrison observed Elena's preparation routine with growing interest. Her methodical approach and attention to detail reminded him of some of the best snipers he had worked with during his career. However, he also knew that technical competence was only one aspect of combat effectiveness. Real snipers needed mental toughness, emotional control, and the ability to make life-or-death decisions under extreme stress. The facility had grown quite crowded now, with soldiers from multiple units finding reasons to be present during Elena's assessment. The unusual nature of the situation had created significant interest throughout the base, and many were curious to see whether a female recruit could demonstrate the skills traditionally associated with male snipers. The attention added pressure, but it also provided Elena with an opportunity to make a strong impression on her peers. Elena chambered around for her shot at 400 meters and settled into her shooting position. The increased distance meant that bullet travel time would be longer, and environmental factors would have more opportunity to affect trajectory. She had practiced these calculations countless times during training, but applying them under observation required confidence in her technical knowledge and ability to execute under pressure. The wind had shifted slightly, requiring Elena to adjust her aim point to compensate for the changed conditions. She spent time observing the range flags at different distances, noting that wind conditions could vary significantly between her position and the target. This complexity was part of what made long-range shooting both challenging and fascinating for those who pursued mastery of the skill. As Elena prepared to fire, she became aware of conversations among the observing soldiers. Some were discussing her technique and comparing it to other shooters they had observed. Others were debating whether women possessed the physical and mental characteristics necessary for effective sniper operations. The comments created additional pressure, but Elena forced herself to focus on the technical aspects of her shot preparation. General Harrison noticed Elena's ability to maintain concentration despite the distractions around her. Mental discipline was often more important than physical skills in determining sniper effectiveness, and her focus under pressure suggested good potential for high-stress combat situations. He had seen many technically proficient shooters fail when faced with the psychological pressures of actual combat operations. The shot at 400 meters struck within 2 inches of the target center, demonstrating excellent accuracy for the challenging distance and conditions. Elena felt a surge of satisfaction, knowing that she was performing well under difficult circumstances. The positive result gave her confidence for the remaining shots at even longer distances, where the margin for error would be even smaller. Sergeant Williams confirmed the shot placement and made notes on Elena's performance record. Her accuracy was consistently meeting or exceeding standards for her experience level, and her technique appeared sound and reproducible. The sergeant had trained many soldiers in sniper skills, and he recognized the signs of natural aptitude combined with thorough preparation and practice. Elena began preparing for the 500-meter shots, which would represent the most challenging portion of her assessment. At this distance, factors like bullet drop became much more significant, and wind effects were magnified considerably. Success at 500 meters would demonstrate readiness for advanced sniper training and potential assignment to specialized units that require precision shooting capabilities. The crowd of observing soldiers had grown larger, and Elena could hear increased discussion about her performance. Some expressed surprise at her accuracy, while others remained skeptical about her overall suitability for combat roles. The mixed reactions reflected broader military debates about gender integration in combat positions, with Elena's performance serving as a real-world test case for these policies. General Harrison positioned himself where he could observe both Elena's shooting technique and the reactions of the soldiers around him. He understood that her performance would influence not only her own career, but also attitudes toward women in combat roles throughout his command. The implications extended far beyond a single weapons assessment, affecting unit cohesion and military effectiveness more broadly. Elena took extra time preparing for the 500-meter shot, understanding that this would likely be the most scrutinized aspect of her entire assessment. She carefully calculated bullet drop compensation and wind adjustments, double-checking her math before making scope modifications. The methodical approach demonstrated good judgment and understanding of the increased complexity at longer ranges. The wind conditions had become more variable, with gusts creating changing patterns across the range. Elena waited for a lull in the wind before taking her shot, showing patience and good tactical sense. Professional snipers often waited for optimal conditions rather than forcing shots during unfavorable circumstances, and her restraint suggested good understanding of real-world operational requirements. As Elena prepared to fire her most challenging shot, the weapons facility fell completely silent. Even soldiers who had been conducting other training exercises paused to observe the outcome. The shot at 500 meters would essentially determine whether Elena had demonstrated the skills necessary for advanced sniper training and potential combat assignment in specialized roles. The rifle's report echoed through the facility as Elena fired her final shot. The bullet's flight time to the distant target seemed to stretch endlessly as everyone waited to see the result. Through the spotting scope, the impact could be seen just slightly right of center, but well within acceptable accuracy parameters for the challenging distance and conditions. General Harrison closed his notebook and looked directly at Elena for the first time since the assessment began. His expression had changed subtly, showing what might have been the beginning of approval or at least recognition of competent performance. The general's reputation for high standards meant that any positive reaction from him carried significant weight with both Elena and the observing soldiers. Elena carefully cleared the rifle and began the post-shooting inspection procedures, treating the weapon with the same methodical care she had shown throughout the assessment. Proper post-firing maintenance was as important as shooting technique in determining long-term weapon reliability and soldier effectiveness. Her attention to these details reinforced the impression of thoroughness and professionalism that had characterized her entire performance. Sergeant Williams completed his documentation of Elena's shooting scores while General Harrison reviewed the targets through his binoculars. The accuracy demonstrated at all distances had been consistently above average, particularly considering the pressure of being observed by senior command. Elena had shown not only technical competence, but also the mental composure that distinguished effective snipers from merely adequate shooters. The crowd of observing soldiers began to disperse as the formal assessment concluded, but many lingered to discuss what they had witnessed. Conversations ranged from surprised acknowledgement of Elena's skills to continued skepticism about women in combat roles. The mixed reactions reflected the broader military community's ongoing adjustment to changing personnel policies and traditional role expectations. General Harrison approached Elena as she completed her post-firing procedures. His presence commanded immediate attention from everyone remaining in the facility, and soldiers positioned themselves to observe this interaction. The general's feedback would carry enormous weight in determining Elena's future assignments and career trajectory, making this moment crucial for her military aspirations. Elena stood at attention as the general approached, maintaining military bearing despite the adrenaline and nervousness coursing through her system. She had performed well during the shooting assessment, but she understood that technical competence was only one factor in determining suitability for advanced training and combat assignments. The general's evaluation would consider broader aspects of her potential military effectiveness. General Harrison examined Elena's shooting targets more closely, noting the consistency of her shot groups and the precision demonstrated at various distances. His experience allowed him to distinguish between lucky shots and genuine skill, and Elena's performance clearly fell into the latter category. The systematic improvement she had shown throughout the assessment indicated good learning ability and adaptability under pressure. The weapons facility gradually returned to normal operations as other soldiers resumed their training activities. However, the atmosphere remained charged with awareness that something significant had occurred. Elena's performance had challenged some preconceptions about female capabilities in traditionally male military roles, creating ripple effects that would extend far beyond the immediate assessment. Sergeant Williams approached with Elena's completed score sheets, which documented her performance at each distance and provided overall ratings for various aspects of her shooting skills. The numerical scores confirmed what visual observation had suggested. Elena had performed at levels that would qualify her for advanced sniper training if other factors supported such assignment. General Harrison accepted the documentation and spent several minutes reviewing the detailed scores and observations. His thorough examination of the paperwork demonstrated the serious consideration he gave to all aspects of soldier evaluation. Elena waited nervously as he processed the information, understanding that his conclusions would shape her immediate future and long-term career prospects. The general's reputation for fairness was well established throughout the military, but he was also known for making difficult decisions when unit effectiveness was at stake. His evaluation would consider not only Elena's individual performance, but also broader implications for unit cohesion and operational effectiveness. The complexity of these considerations made his decision-making process more challenging than simple score evaluation. Elena maintained her attention position while internally reviewing her performance and tried to assess how it might be perceived by senior command. She believed she had demonstrated competence, but she also understood that military decisions involve factors beyond individual technical skills. Her fate would depend on the general's judgment about her overall potential for effective service in demanding roles. Other soldiers in the facility continued their activities while remaining aware of the ongoing evaluation discussion. Many were curious about the outcome, as it would influence how future female recruits were perceived and treated within their units. The precedent being established would have implications for military policy implementation and acceptance throughout the command structure. General Harrison concluded his review of the documentation and looked directly at Elena. His expression had become more serious, suggesting that he was considering weighty matters that extended beyond simple performance evaluation. The general understood that his decision would be scrutinized by both superiors and subordinates, making careful consideration essential. Elena felt her heart rate increase as the general prepared to provide his assessment. Months of training and preparation had led to this moment, and the outcome would determine whether her military aspirations could be realized or would need to be redirected. The silence seemed to stretch endlessly as she waited for the general's verdict on her performance and potential. The general began speaking in measured tones that carried clearly throughout the weapons facility. His words were chosen carefully, reflecting the significance of the moment and the broader implications of his evaluation. Elena listened intently, understanding that every word would be remembered and analyzed by those present and many others who would hear about this assessment. General Harrison acknowledged Elena's technical competence and shooting accuracy, confirming that her performance had met or exceeded standards for her experience level. However, his tone suggested that additional factors would influence final decisions about her assignment and training opportunities. The complexity of his evaluation reflected the multifaceted nature of military personnel decisions. Elena felt relief at the positive acknowledgement of her shooting performance, but she also recognized that the general's assessment was continuing into areas that might be more challenging. Her technical skills have been validated, but questions about overall suitability for combat roles might involve considerations beyond marksmanship ability. The general continued his evaluation by discussing the mental discipline and composure Elena had demonstrated under pressure. These qualities were crucial for effective performance in high-stress combat situations, where technical skills needed to be applied while managing fear, fatigue, and complex tactical considerations. His recognition of these attributes suggested broader approval of her potential. Sergeant Williams listened carefully to the general's assessment, taking notes that would become part of Elena's permanent training record. The sergeant's observations would supplement the general's evaluation and provide additional perspective on Elena's performance and potential for advanced training opportunities. General Harrison addressed Elena directly, asking about her motivations for pursuing sniper training and her understanding of the demands involved in such assignments. His questions probed beyond technical competence to examine her psychological readiness and commitment to the challenging requirements of specialized military roles. Elena responded honestly about her desire to serve in demanding positions where she could contribute most effectively to mission success. She acknowledged the physical and mental challenges involved while expressing confidence in her ability to meet these demands through continued training and dedication. Her responses demonstrated thoughtfulness and realistic understanding of the commitments required. The general's questioning continued into areas of tactical understanding and decision-making abilities. He presented hypothetical scenarios that tested Elena's ability to apply her shooting skills within broader operational contexts. These questions evaluated whether her technical competence could be effectively integrated into complex military operations. Elena's responses to the tactical questions demonstrated good analytical thinking and understanding of how sniper capabilities fit into larger mission objectives. Her answers showed awareness of the strategic and ethical responsibilities that came with precision shooting roles in combat operations. The general seemed satisfied with her level of understanding and judgment. As the evaluation discussion continued, Elena became aware that other soldiers were still observing and listening to the conversation. The general's questions and her responses were being carefully noted by peers who would form opinions about her capabilities and suitability for advanced roles. The public nature of the evaluation added pressure, but also provided opportunity to demonstrate competence to a wider audience. General Harrison shifted his questioning to examine Elena's physical capabilities and endurance potential. Sniper operations often required extended periods in difficult positions while maintaining alertness and accuracy. The physical demands could be substantial, and the general needed to assess whether Elena possessed the necessary strength and stamina for such assignments. Elena described her physical training regimen and fitness levels, providing specific examples of her ability to perform under physically demanding conditions. She had prepared extensively for questions about physical capabilities, understanding that concerns about women's strength and endurance were common in discussions about combat role assignments. The general seemed satisfied with Elena's physical preparation and her realistic understanding of the demands involved in sniper operations. His questions moved on to examine her knowledge of advanced shooting techniques and her potential for learning more complex skills through specialized training programs. Elena's responses demonstrated comprehensive understanding of ballistics, environmental factors, and advanced shooting techniques that she had studied during her preparation for this assessment. Her knowledge base appeared solid, and her eagerness to learn additional skills was evident in her detailed answers about future training opportunities. As the evaluation discussion neared its conclusion, General Harrison summarized his observations about Elena's performance and potential. His assessment was thorough and fair, acknowledging both strengths and areas where continued development would be necessary. The balanced nature of his evaluation reflected his experience in making personnel decisions that affected both individual careers and unit effectiveness. Elena listened carefully to the general's summary, trying to discern the implications for her immediate future and long-term career prospects. The assessment had been largely positive, but she understood that final assignment decisions would involve additional considerations beyond individual performance evaluation. General Harrison concluded his assessment with specific recommendations for Elena's continued training and development. His suggestions included advanced marksmanship courses, tactical training, and physical conditioning programs that would prepare her for potential assignment to specialized units. The detailed recommendations indicated serious consideration of her potential for advanced roles. The weapons facility had grown quiet as soldiers focused on hearing the general's final conclusions about Elena's assessment. His decision would establish important precedents for how female soldiers would be evaluated and assigned within his command. The significance of the moment was understood by everyone present. Elena felt a mixture of relief and anticipation as the general's evaluation concluded on a generally positive note. She had demonstrated competence and potential, but she also understood that continued performance and development would be necessary to fully realize her military aspirations. The assessment had been an important step, but many challenges remained ahead. As General Harrison prepared to leave the weapons facility, he made additional comments about the importance of maintaining high standards while ensuring fair evaluation of all soldiers regardless of gender. His words emphasized that competence and character would remain the primary criteria for assignment decisions, establishing clear expectations for future evaluations. Elena began securing her equipment and preparing to leave the facility, understanding that her performance had been documented and would influence future opportunities. The assessment had gone well, but she knew that sustained excellent performance would be necessary to build on the positive foundation established during this critical evaluation point 3 weeks after her weapons assessment. Elena found herself assigned to advanced sniper training under the direct supervision of Master Sergeant Rodriguez, one of the most respected marksmanship instructors in the military. The assignment came with both privileges and pressures, as she would be among the first women to participate in the intensive program that typically lasted 6 months and pushed students to their physical and mental limits. The advanced training facility was located in a remote section of the base, designed to simulate various combat environments and challenging shooting conditions. Elena reported for her first day of specialized instruction, carrying the weight of expectations from those who believed in her potential and the skepticism of others who doubted whether women could succeed in such demanding roles. Master Sergeant Rodriguez had initially been surprised by Elena's assignment to his program, not because of her gender, but because relatively few soldiers earned the opportunity to participate in advanced sniper training. His program had a reputation for being exceptionally demanding, with a significant percentage of students failing to complete the course successfully. He approached Elena's training with the same rigorous standards he applied to all students. Elena's fellow trainees included 5 male soldiers from various military backgrounds, each selected based on demonstrated marksmanship ability and potential for specialized operations. The small class size allowed for intensive individual instruction while creating a competitive environment that pushed all students to perform at their highest levels. Elena understood that she would need to prove herself repeatedly throughout the extended training period. The curriculum included advanced ballistics calculations, environmental factor compensation, camouflage and concealment techniques, target identification and prioritization, and psychological preparation for combat stress. Each subject area demanded mastery of both theoretical knowledge and practical application under increasingly challenging conditions. Elena threw herself into the studies with determination to excel in every aspect of the training. Physical conditioning remained a crucial component of the program, as sniper operations often required soldiers to carry heavy equipment over long distances and maintain shooting accuracy while fatigued. Elena's smaller physical stature initially appeared disadvantageous compared to her male counterparts, but her superior cardiovascular fitness and mental toughness helped compensate for differences in raw strength. Master Sergeant Rodriguez observed Elena's performance carefully during the initial weeks of training, noting her exceptional attention to detail and willingness to practice skills until they became second nature. Her shooting accuracy remained consistently high even under artificial stress conditions designed to simulate combat pressure. The instructor began to recognize that Elena possessed the rare combination of technical skill and mental discipline that characterized elite snipers. Elena's relationship with her fellow trainees evolved gradually from initial awkwardness to mutual respect based on shared challenges and common goals. The men in her class had initially been uncertain about how to interact with a female trainee, but Elena's competence and professionalism helped establish normal working relationships focused on mission accomplishment rather than gender differences. The training scenarios became progressively more complex, requiring students to apply multiple skills simultaneously while operating under severe time constraints and physical stress. Elena learned to calculate shooting solutions while exhausted, maintain accuracy while uncomfortable, and make split-second decisions about target priority and engagement criteria. Each exercise built upon previous learning while introducing new challenges. General Harrison made periodic visits to observe the advanced training program, partly to monitor Elena's progress and partly to assess the overall effectiveness of the specialized instruction. His presence during these visits added pressure for all students, but Elena had learned to perform effectively under observation and no longer felt intimidated by senior command attention. Elena's shooting scores throughout the advanced training consistently ranked among the top performers in her class, validating the confidence that had led to her selection for the program. However, she understood that technical marksmanship was only one component of sniper effectiveness, and she worked equally hard on developing tactical awareness and decision-making abilities. The psychological aspects of sniper training proved particularly challenging, as students learned to cope with the mental pressures of precision shooting in life-or-death situations. Elena participated in stress inoculation exercises designed to simulate combat conditions while maintaining shooting accuracy and tactical awareness. Her performance during these exercises impressed instructors and fellow students alike. Master Sergeant Rodriguez began assigning Elena to leadership roles during training exercises, recognizing her ability to maintain composure under pressure and help other students improve their performance. These opportunities allowed Elena to demonstrate capabilities beyond individual shooting skills, showing potential for advancement to instructor positions or specialized operational assignments. Elena's success in the advanced training program began attracting attention from higher command levels, with senior officers discussing her potential for assignment to elite units that specialized in precision shooting missions. These conversations represented significant opportunities, but also increased pressure to maintain exceptional performance throughout the remainder of her training. The final phase of advanced sniper training involved a comprehensive field exercise that tested all skills learned throughout the program. Students operated independently for extended periods while completing complex missions that required integration of shooting, tactical, and survival skills. Elena approached this culminating exercise with confidence built through months of intensive preparation. During the field exercise, Elena successfully completed all assigned missions while demonstrating exceptional shooting accuracy and tactical judgment. Her performance during this final evaluation earned praise from Master Sergeant Rodriguez and validation of her readiness for assignment to specialized units requiring advanced marksmanship capabilities. Elena graduated from the Advanced Sniper Training Program with honors, becoming one of the first women to successfully complete the demanding course. Her achievement opened doors for future female soldiers while establishing her own reputation as a highly skilled marksman capable of contributing to the most challenging military operations. General Harrison attended Elena's graduation ceremony and personally congratulated her on completing the program successfully. His recognition carried significant weight throughout the military community and helped establish Elena's credibility among peers who might otherwise have questioned her qualifications for specialized assignments. Elena received orders assigning her to an elite reconnaissance unit that conducted precision shooting missions in support of special operations. The assignment represented the culmination of her training and validation of her capabilities, while also presenting new challenges that would test her skills in real combat situations. Her new unit commander, Colonel Thompson, had specifically requested Elena's assignment based on her training record and Master Sergeant Rodriguez's recommendation. The colonel understood the significance of integrating the first female sniper into his unit while maintaining the high-performance standards that characterized his team's operations. Elena's integration into the elite unit proceeded smoothly, with team members accepting her based on demonstrated competence rather than focusing on gender differences. Her shooting skills quickly earned respect, while her professional attitude and dedication to mission accomplishment helped establish strong working relationships with fellow team members. The unit's first operational deployment with Elena involved providing precision fire support for a complex special operations mission in a challenging environment. Elena's performance during this deployment validated her training and demonstrated her readiness for the most demanding military assignments requiring advanced marksmanship skills. Elena's successful transition from basic training to elite operational assignment had required overcoming numerous challenges and exceeding expectations at every step. Her journey demonstrated that competence and dedication could overcome initial skepticism and traditional barriers, opening opportunities for future generations of female soldiers seeking similar roles. The impact of Elena's success extended beyond her individual achievement, influencing military policies regarding women in combat roles and encouraging other female soldiers to pursue challenging assignments previously considered unsuitable for women. Her example showed that capability rather than gender should determine assignment opportunities in modern military organizations. Colonel Thompson's unit became a model for successful integration of female soldiers into elite combat roles, with Elena's performance serving as evidence that women could contribute effectively to the most demanding military missions. Her continued success helped change attitudes throughout the military community about women's capabilities in traditional male roles. Elena's story inspired other young women considering military careers, showing that dedication, competence, and perseverance could overcome traditional barriers and achieve success in the most challenging military specialties. Her example demonstrated that changing military culture required both policy changes and individual achievements that proved women's capabilities. Years later, Elena was promoted to instructor positions where she trained both male and female soldiers in advanced marksmanship skills. Her teaching emphasized that shooting competence depended on mental discipline, technical knowledge, and dedicated practice rather than physical characteristics that had traditionally been considered advantages for male soldiers. Elena's career progression from uncertain recruit to respected instructor and operational leader illustrated the potential for positive change when military organizations focused on capability and performance rather than traditional assumptions about gender roles. Her success paved the way for increased opportunities for women throughout the military community. The question that had once echoed through the weapons facility, who allowed her near the sniper, had been answered definitively through Elena's sustained excellent performance and contributions to military effectiveness. Her achievements proved that the question itself reflected outdated assumptions rather than legitimate concerns about women's capabilities. Elena's legacy extended far beyond her individual accomplishments, influencing military culture and opening opportunities for countless other women seeking to serve their country in demanding roles previously considered unsuitable for female soldiers. Her story became an inspiration for breaking barriers through competence, dedication, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The transformation from skeptical observers questioning her presence near precision weapons to widespread recognition of her expertise and contributions represented a fundamental shift in military attitudes about women's capabilities. Elena's success demonstrated that changing deeply held assumptions required consistent excellent performance and time for organizational culture to evolve. Today, Elena continues serving in leadership roles where she mentors young soldiers of both genders, emphasizing that military effectiveness depends on individual capability and commitment rather than traditional role expectations. Her career stands as proof that competence and character remain the most important qualifications for military service in any capacity.